Good evening, everyone. I hope you all are doing well today. Welcome to Magical Coffee Hour. I am Drake. Today, we're going to have a little fun. We're going to be talking about the things ending, new things beginning. Um, as always, if you hold on, we've got a problem here. There we go. Problem solved. So, just so everyone knows, we are streaming live on Rumble, Locals, and YouTube currently. If you haven't joined our local community, please do, because right now that is actually where we're gathering up the community for everything we do. And there's a lot of supporter only content over there because honestly and truly, for whatever reason, ad revenue is going down. So we're definitely a supporter backed channel here. That's what we are. And thankfully, you all believe in the work we do and help us to keep the lights on and keep creating the content we're doing. Also, at Locals, you can tip on any of the content if you want to support us there without becoming a full supporter. Or we got super chats over at YouTube. You can drop those in, and any tips or super chats throughout the week of $5 or more automatically get you entered into spell working for prosperity, luck, well-being, good health, all those wonderful things. Consider it just a general well-being of life spell working. All right. We already got a few people jumping in here. Good to see you. Welcome, Immortal and Berto. Welcome. Good to see everyone today. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about today, and I posted something on this over at Locals in a text. And actually, I think I'm going to start doing a few more text posts over there. I kind of enjoyed doing that. We are transitioning. Well, we have transitioned. It's actually the 1st of September. And a lot of people let a month pass and go with no cares in the world. Or if there is a care, it's, hey, maybe it's a birthday coming up, or maybe you're one of those people celebrating the fact that we're a little bit closer to Halloween season. Or maybe you're like my mom and you're celebrating the fact that we're a little closer to her favorite holiday, Christmas. And there's nothing wrong with that. However, as practitioners or anyone in general, if self-mastery and self-empowerment is something you're truly pursuing, whether in a mundane concept or even as a practitioner, I would actually argue and say you should track those months for a very specific reason. Oh, Pop Smoking Heathen, thank you for the super chat, mate. Mugs up to you. Hey, bro, if you could do a spell for work for me, I'd appreciate it. We're about to do a huge install I've never done before, and I'm spooked, but it's a huge growth opportunity. Thank you. You can absolutely guarantee that, mate. Here, let me. Whoop, I can give you a little heart on that one. Look at that. We'll book that. All right. I will definitely make sure to get that on the list and get that done. Thank you very much for the super chat, Pop Smoking Heathen. So, one of the things I try to do at the end of every month and at the start of every month is I actually look back at everything that I had planned that I wanted to get done. Now, over at Locals, I did a workshop where I talk about magical planning. And for supporters, it's still on replay. And it's one we may do again live at another time too. So if you want supporters and new and old, you can catch it again live if you want, but the replays are there too. But I go in there and I talk about how I plan out my magical workings for the week, for the month, for the 6-month periods in a year. And those are valuable to me. But one of the things that I truly do think is valuable to anyone, and it's easy to do, is actually, write down your goals. Everyone says write down your goals, pursue your goals. Great. What do you do with them once you get them? Most people never cover that. I say, what am I going to do this month to pursue my goals? Where am I going in my mundane life? What are my goals? Where am I pursuing in my magical life? What skills are I working on? Where am I currently? Okay. And in the post on Locals, I gave the concept of, let's say you're wanting to learn to do 100 push-ups a day. Well, I know plenty of people can't do one push-up. Does that mean that's a stupid goal for them? No, but it does mean that they're going to have to apply some work to it. they're going to have to try and figure a way to do it. And they may start by trying to do a few sets of 5 push-ups. They may try and do 10 push-ups a day. But with push-ups, it's very, very noticeable because you have that number. How many push-ups are you doing? At the end of the month, you can test yourself. Well, if you couldn't do 1 push-up and you start doing incline push-ups and working up, but at the end of the month, now you can do 2 regular push-ups. Sure, you were doing maybe 20 or 30 incline push-ups, but now you're doing 2 regular push-ups. That's progress. Is it 100 push-ups? No, but you see the progress, okay? And that allows you to make adjustments to what you are doing to continue to make progress, right? All right, and that's how you plan out your next month. And I use this example for a very good reason. See, because what happens when you hit that 100 push-up goal? And this is very important for the metaphysical side of it, people, so follow me here. Once you hit that goal, let's just say you start doing 100 push-ups a day. Now, people will tell you can't do the same exercise over and over. You won't get any gains. It won't do you no good. Okay, that is technically true. But what will happen is those 100 push-ups, your body's going to adapt to that stress. It's going to adapt to that ability. It's going to maintain the strength and the muscle to do that work load that you're putting on it every day. Will you progress? No, not really. You're going to hit a plateau, and doing the same thing over and over, it will maintain where you're at, but it won't progress you. And that's all that's going to happen. So every month when you look back and you're trying to see gains, if you're just doing the same thing over and over and you're wondering why the needle ain't moving, that's why. Flip that to the metaphysical. I see this every day in the metaphysical. We even see it here often in coffee hour, especially dealing with something like the arcane senses. So one of the most common emails I get is, when am I ready to start something like Dragon Magick 101? Okay. A lot of people are really freaked out about Dragon Magick 101 over at the online school. Well, Dragon Magick 101 is a beginner course. It's a beginner class. It's designed and built for someone who has never had any occult practice or study or development at all. Now, if you've never studied Dragon Magick, obviously it's a place to start Dragon Magick even for an advanced practitioner. But for someone who's never done any of it, that's also one of the things that it's going to do. It's going to help teach you. In that course, we have exercises that are going to help you to develop those aspects. Okay. So there's no, I've got people who are constantly working to master their meditation or fine-tune their arcane senses to be ready for Dragon Magick 101. Okay, here's the problem. If all you're doing is trying to train your senses and you're doing the same exercise over and over, you're going to get to a point where you go, that's it. That's what you do. And people try to perfect their senses before they move on. Truth be told, as long as you're just doing these base level exercises, you're only going to get here. This is where you're going to get. This is where you're going to stay. And you will plateau. You have to push further and apply. And one of the beautiful things about the way we built Dragon Magick 101, that's what it does. It will take someone who's had no practice at all. It'll develop those basic skills, but it's also going to give you something to push and develop on further and continue to develop on. And you can constantly, and one of the things I harp on this channel, it's in all my courses, is that journal, is those documents, is those things you're recording. You can literally do those things. You can describe what you're seeing in your rituals. You can describe how things are going. And those are data points you can take. At the end of the month, I go back and I read all my data points. I sit down and read over all my notes. And I ask myself, where did I improve over the last month? I compare that. I take a look at that. And then I look at what I was doing. How was I doing it? Is there anything I could tweak? How can I push myself a little harder next month to develop more? Or was it the actual practice itself was flawed? Was there something flawed with what I was doing that I could tweak? Because, for example, let's say you want to get to where you can do 500 squats a day. Well, newsflash, most people, if they got up and just squatted themselves until they couldn't squat no more, they're not going to be able to squat tomorrow because their muscles are dead. They overdid it. If you overdo the workout, you can't do it. Therefore, you actually see less progression, right? So those are things you need to consider. And I love using the transition of a month to do that because every month you have a very pointed calendar transition. You can look at the end of the month and you can look back at what you did. What were your successes? What were your failures? What needs tweaked? And you can make those notes and plan out the next month and constantly pursue your goal, whatever your goal may be, whether it's metaphysical or whether it's in the mundane world. And honestly and truly, I apply this concept to everything I do. All right, let's see. We got some comments coming in here. Let's see. Vitki. Hello, everyone. Happy 200. Thank you. Thank you, Vitki. Yes, for those who don't know, if you saw on Rumble, I accidentally, it lets you pull up like a layout when you go to Rumble Studio, and I accidentally, I just popped it up and I was like, I'll just change the number on this real fast, and I forgot to change it. So it says 199. I edited on my side, I'm saying 200. I've had at least one person tell me they're still seeing the 199. It's supposed to be a 200. The thumbnail says 200. I don't know if it'll fix eventually, but feel free to laugh at me. It's a setup error. I'm getting used to the multi-platform. We're definitely getting into the multi-platform stuff more. In fact, streaming live over at Locals, usually our live streams are 30 minutes before they cut me off talking. I'm actually wanting to see if it works the same in this format. So if you're watching at Locals, make sure you're ready to jump over to YouTube or Rumble because it may cut you off and you don't want to miss anything. But if it does, let me know so I'm aware. Let's see. It's so funny. That's the thing I'm working on to share with the group. I have found a cool way to make growth easier for the magician. As a teaser, it's the threefold way of growth. Interesting, Pepsi. I'd actually look forward to hearing about that. Spooky. Hey, long story incoming. I have a really interesting story about a ritual I did past few days. I woke up early and got my shovel. Continued. Scooby, you may need to post that in Locals or in the Discord area, not take up the chat log with that, depending on how long is. Oh, gee, mine I had since I was 3 days. Let's see. Okay, if we're literally meaning long, then yeah, put that over at the Discord and or on Locals if you're over there. We love for our local supporters to share things like that over there. But it can really bog down the chat log here, unfortunately. Thank you, though. I actually look forward to reading it. It sounds like it's going to be an interesting one. Let's see. Dead Heaven Mine pinpoints our tarot readings every moon cycle, every new moon and full moon. Those are good points to check on, and definitely look back and see. Like with divinations, that is one thing I do. Regardless of the form of divinations I'm doing, I actually look back and check their accuracy. And that's also why I'm very specific. I'd never, like if it's a vague divination, I just throw that son of a bitch out. It's useless to me. That's why professional tarot readers hate me, because if you're going to give me a bunch of vague horse shit that I can honestly get from the local newspaper, from somebody who wrote it while they were drunk, just trying to fill up the letter count, I'm not paying you as a reader. Give me something very specific that isn't questionable, so that when it pops up, I know this is exactly what you were talking about. And those are the stuff I write down. Anyone who's done my scrying class or took the evocation course, you know what I'm talking about. It's one of those. So I'm very specific with what I write down and how I write it down. And that, because of that, if what I wrote down does not come to pass, if I have to twist it, bend it, or pretzel it, or fudge it in any way, I cross it off. That didn't manifest. That's me, though. That's me. I'm super strict like that. But divinations is one of my favorite areas, too. So there's also that. But I check those every month. And much like you, I don't do, I'll be honest, I don't use the moons. I use the weeks. I use the month. So I do divinations for the month, and I do divinations at the start of every week. And again, I break my divinations down in the same pattern I do all my ritual planning, from full year, half year, month, week. I don't really worry about days. I save the days for what comes up. What comes up during the day, that's what the day is. But yeah, moon cycles are a great little marker for a lot of people. They really are. Angela, good to see you. Blessings to you too. Okay. Yes, Deadhaven, we got a Discord. If you go to workingdragonmystic.com, you'll see a tab that takes you to our locals community. Join the locals community, and members and supporters both. Members are free, supporters are paid, but there is a pinned tab up there with our Discord community. You have to be a member of the locals in order to be in the Discord. That's it. The names have to match. They do a regular purge. One of our admin, they look forward to the monthly purge, and if the names don't match, you'll be booted. But yes, join the locals as you can. Like I said, join locals as a free member, and just click the link and go on over there. But we do, and read the rules, of course. Professional tarot readers hate him. See how he sees the future with one simple trick. Oh yeah. I think I know one tarot reader who actually likes to see me walk in or see me out in town, period. Like one. The rest of them have come to hate me. Because unfortunately, where I focus on results and data and, very specific things like I talk about in this channel, a lot of the woo-woo vagueness that has become the occult community today, where we're not looking for anything real. We're basically looking for escapism in a lot of places, unfortunately. It's one of those things where a guy like me who's looking for very specific things, I shake the boat and they don't like it. And that's fair. I get it. But at the same time, I can't, I don't care who you are. I don't care if it's a video game. I don't care if it's at work. I don't care where it is. I'm not a vague person. I want specifics. Where was I? We got anything over here at Rumble? Okay, no, the chat over at Rumble's a little quiet. That's nice. Divinations is always fascinating. Every time I do it, there is a lot for me to learn. There is indeed definitely a lot to learn. I'm actually planning on doing a workshop over at Locals to discuss scrying and how I handle scrying the way I do it, because a lot of people have trouble with scrying and they wonder how you get good at it and get accurate. And scrying is a hard one. There's no doubt. If you're actually going to scry and get accurate, it is a hard work. But if you put in the time, it's also amazingly useful. Angela, how are you, Drake? How is everyone today? Did you get? I did not do the Oreo clocks. However, during the admin meeting, I did mention it to Halloween because her eating 12 gallons of sugar is not going to affect her. She's not on any kind of diet trying to lose weight because she's, well, tiny. Like, she's maybe 90 pounds, dripping wet, carrying groceries and a set of barbells. Let's be honest. So she's going to look into it. We'll see if she gets to it, but I did request it. For me, I'm actually really dialing in. I'm going super strict on my diet and carnivore because I've got some goals I'm trying to meet. Is it this week or next week? I'm supposed to go see the neurologist, which I have to. Those are always fun. So that's just going to take more out of my time I got to do. So for those of you at locals, I'm trying to get more content up there. I will be posting more, doing some more shows, which reminds me, I got something else I want to talk to everybody about here in a second. But yeah, it's next week. So I think that's either Wednesday or Thursday. You may not see much of me those 2 days because of that. Or whichever day it is, one of those 2 days. Yeah, not those 2 days, but one of those 2 days. Yeah, that's right. Okay, got it. We'll get there. Rainbow Drake looking fresh. Thank you. Thank you. Actually, weirdly, my head could use a shave, but appreciate it. And I realized I ain't got my hat. I usually have a hat in the office, but me and the wife has been running around all weekend trying to get stuff done, and I've left it in the other room. So you just have to deal with my bald, shiny head today. Sorry about the chrome dome glare, but I appreciate the compliment. It's good to know at least I'm looking good. Let's see, Jade, I need help. My links aren't working. When in doubt, Jade will fix it. Rainbow Orchestra, how do you feel about one day having a temple devoted to the dragons? I'm honestly not for it in any shape, form, or fashion. Considering the dragons do not like worship, and they really like, that's something they don't want. They do not want worship. The concept of us building a temple actually is just pretty much like spitting in their face and saying, you know, we understand this is how you feel and we don't give a fuck. And so for me personally, I wouldn't support something like that personally. At the same time, would I openly, actively try to stop someone else from trying to do that? No, but I wouldn't support it personally because of that. Hey, Mathis, mugs up to you, mate. Dropping in from Dragon Con. Hey, have some fun up there, mate. Stay safe. Cheering for you, Drake. Maybe the neurologist will find a dragon in your ear or something. Unlikely they'll find that. No, I've been epileptic since I was 3. It's nothing I've hid on this channel. I've told you plenty of everybody on this channel I have epilepsy. It has been a demon to wrestle with, and it's also one of the demons is why I despise spiritual healers. Because the number of spiritual healers that have literally said, you're healed, don't take your medicine, and blah, blah, blah. And a few of the times in faith, I trusted their asses, and they literally almost got me killed, quite literally. So yeah, there's a good reason. And it's not like the person's like, well, that one's a bad one. No, like this is something where I've spoken to multiple double-digit spiritual healers, and all of them are full of shit. So yeah. Now, I have found good spiritual healers that do it. It's like you still need to see the neurologist. You still need to take your medicines. This is only going to aid. This is going to help. And that's why I'm in the, Magick is not a replacement for proper medical treatment. Never will I say Magick will replace modern medicine. I won't say it. See, Pop Smoking Heathen, jokes aside, tarot reading / scrying has 2 skills: reading correctly and then figuring out what it means in the real world, like how to take action on it. You're right. There is a lot more to divination than just flipping some cards. In fact, I would say the worst habit a person could get into is flipping the cards out and reading from the book and saying this card's supposed to mean this. If that's the as far as you go into it, then you're really not going to get good at it. Put the book away. In fact, anyone who's took my tarot course, you'll understand that the way I taught that course kept its simplicity and gave key words, but told you to read from, connect with the cards and read into that further, and even meditate on the cards in your own journal. That was to develop that skill. And in that course, outside the few key words, Like I told you, whatever deck you bought for the use of that course, the book that came with it, toss it. Maybe put it on a bookshelf to read later, but don't use it for this course. So yeah, that would be hilarious if the neurologist found a freaking dragon or something like just some weird on the EKG or a scan. That'd be amazing. I'd laugh my butt off. Vicky, if you see this Drake, it would be awesome if you could share a fun dragon story if you feel like it. I always love hearing your fun experiences with dragons. Yeah, actually, I can. One of the funnier ones that I do remember, I don't know if I've ever shared this one on this channel. There was a point where I was working some odd jobs, and one of the odd jobs I got was at a deli in Kroger's. I was doing that. Actually, I loved it because they actually encourage you to, like, if there's any leftover slices or whatnot, to sample the meat so you can tell the customers about it and all that. And you all know I'm a carnivore, so that's good stuff. And we were serving boar's head, so it was really good stuff. Pro tip: boar's head roast beef with boar's head horseradish cheese. Anywho, one of the ladies there, she was a bit of a prick, but she was also one of these individuals who was naturally gifted spiritually, and she always tried to run from it, even though at times when it served her for gossip or we'll say less than best intentions, she would lean back into her gifts. And this was early in my dragon magic career, so my guardians were still around me like 24/7, and they were going to work with me. They were bugging me, and I was going through a lot of things in life. In fact, some of the things I was going through were dealing with my epilepsy. In fact, this was either right before or shortly after I lost my license due to grand mal seizures. So this was a really depressing low point in my life for me because I lost a huge chunk of my independence. But I was still doing the best I could with what I could. And we were still trying to get my meds dialed back in and all those, figuring out what caused it. It was a spooky time. But yeah, this, for whatever reason, she didn't like me. She did not like me. At one point, she had mixed some kind of a concoction that would essentially stain clothing really bad and put it with some frosting. And her intent was to put this frosting along the neck and collar line to, stain my skin and ruin my shirt, knowing that, replacing my shirt at that time wasn't going to be a easy thing on the budget. Anyways, as she got close to me, the guardian dragon literally ran between me and her and shoved her up against one of the baking tables. And it just freaked her out, scared her, because the dragon made damn sure she saw what knocked her over. And she freaked out. Like, she went spastic. And she went to the bake room, and eventually she calmed down enough to, no, it's nothing, panic attack, blah, blah, blah. But later that night, it was her and I closing up. So we was there, and she actually came over, and she's like, I saw it. And I was like, you saw what? And she described it, and I was like, oh, yeah, well, they're with me all the time, so don't know what to tell you. I mean, I didn't really answer too many of her questions. I was like, yeah, you saw what you saw. And I just left it be. She never gave me one iota of even a cross-eyed look after that day. I loved it. Let's see. I definitely hit the wrong button or something on that one. What is? Where's my mouse? We're in troubles. I have a new setup here, and I was trying to do something, and it's not working. Glad you could make it to local, Scooby. Oh my God, yeah, meat snacks, right? I kind of miss that job, to be honest with you, right now. Maybe she knew the dragons didn't like her. Oh, I'd say she got a really good dose of that concept. Because they were, yeah, they just like constantly gave her evil, like they would look as menacingly as they could at her, like menacingly terrifying looks is what they would shoot her, which was kind of great. Oh yeah, she absolutely got what was coming to her. Let's see. That's amazing. See, that's why I love your stories. Yeah, no problem. When I can think of one that, I usually share them when I can think of one. Um, Sometimes you put me on the spot and it's I go blank, which sucks too, because like 5 minutes after stream, whether it's at an admin meeting or I'm in the other room preparing dinner, it's like, God, I could have said that one. See, Magickal is currently reading Dragon Magick by Conway. Would you recommend starting out with her meditations with the Well in the Meadows or differently? Okay, so that's a tricky one because everyone knows I started with Conway because she was really the first ones out there, but even she didn't like her books, which is weird. I understand why, but that's a long story. Honestly, I would recommend going over to the online school and getting Dragon Magic 101 to start, which is a video course. That's my recommendation. However, that being said, Conway's books are kind of written backwards. So Dancing with Dragons was the first one. And honestly, when it comes to guided meditations, I hate those meditations because there is no experience. It's literally, all right, enter a trance. All right, here's what you're seeing. This is what you're doing. That's not a guided meditation. That is literally you being told something that you're supposed to experience and what you're supposed to experience. That would be me giving you some kind of beverage or food that you've never had in the world, telling you you like this, it tastes like this, it reminds you of this memory. Bullshit. Everyone is going to have a different palate. Everyone's going to have a different experience. And if you take that unique experience away, you absolutely kill the meditation. Okay. So, Dancing with Dragons, it's not a good book in its writing. The following book, Mystical Dragon Magic, actually immediately flips the turn on heads and like what 75% of Dancing with Dragons she completely throws out and completely forgets about it, and never goes back to touch it again. But again, the guided meditations, I dislike them because there's a severe loss of personal experience. Though, if I'm remembering correctly, there's one or two where like guides you in, and then she does like explore experience, but it's not the bulk. And that I found guided meditations like that do very little to actually help a person progress at all. So there is that. However, Mystical Dragon Magic and the exercises and the path working in it outside the meditations, I do find those quite interesting and helpful. I've gone back and read Dancing with Dragons multiple times, and it's just not a functional book. It really isn't. Um, in fact, her third book, which I forget the name of it, came out after she passed away, but she had finished it before she passed, is essentially a rewrite of Mystical Dragon Magic, is what she wanted it to be, that it wasn't. So it took all the ceremonial stuff out. But I mean, if you're going to follow them through. Don't skip around. Follow them through. That's the best I can tell you. For me, there was a lot of learning curves. With Dancing with Dragons, I worked all the way through that book, and then I had to work back through it at least 3 or 4 times, making alteration and changes guided by the dragons, because it was not functional. It wasn't. There's a reason I never recommend that book. The only one of hers that I've ever recommended actually is Mystical Dragon Magic, because that one is actually the best one she does. And again, I don't like the meditations. So if you do the meditations, what I would do is I would actually read through the meditation, read through how you set the meditation up, read through the point of the meditation, and completely toss out all the exposition that she gives and actually live the experience for yourself instead of just watching a movie. Because her exposition, you might as well be reading a book or watching a movie. And that may sound mean, but it's also a critique. You know, she asked me what I thought when I was emailing her back and forth when she was encouraging me to publish my work. And that's what I told her. And she actually said it was a valid point. So I didn't get any reasoning as to her perspective why she did it that way, but I kind of wish I did. Let's see, let's see. Me. Enchant. Oh, I enchant detergent and cleaning products all the time. I really do. Yeah, that is absolutely a wonderful idea. That's something I do quite often. Let's see. No sending. Some of those guided meditations are just telling you a story where you're supposed to feel what the main character feels. Kinda, and that's not really helping you in a guided meditation for your progression. Like, and honestly, that's a lot of, I'm actually thinking about doing a video on the concept of we have this really weird main character concept that's being shoved down our throats and really not helpful to us in any way when it comes to growth and progression. Because it literally gives us a false sense of entitlement to literally everything in life. I just got to figure out how to articulate my thought process on it well, because it's something like I've thought about, I've meditated on for years, and everything makes sense in my brain, but to articulate it out verbally, that's where I'm still getting tripped up. One of the reasons I'm so good at expressing and talking about the things I talk about is I do meditate on them well. And I also not only meditate on their understanding, but if I was to communicate this to someone else, how would I do that? How would I openly communicate my viewpoint? And I do that because I think it's important that if I believe something, if I value something, I need to be able to also communicate it to someone else, whether they agree or disagree. I need to be able to communicate it if it's that meaningful to me. Let's see, Scooby, I've never been a fan of guided meditations. I let the situation guide me, as when I try to follow them, they become ineffective fast. Right. So one of the things you'll find, Scooby, go check out the Guardian Dragon guided meditation I did over here. I give bare minimums during that meditation. I give bare minimum. I don't give detailed descriptions at all. I tell basically the purpose of the meditation. You're supposed to fill in all the details, all the feelings, all the emotions. You're supposed to fill all that in yourself with your experience, period. Hello, Elizabeth from Nova Scotia. Thank you for joining us. I'm glad you can make it. Hopefully you're having a wonderful day. I use one sentence before meditating. I say it a lot of times. Yeah, that's not a bad way to do it. That is not a bad way to do it. Let's see. Dead Haven, I've had better visions blasting off my butt on. I will say, remember to keep the YouTube chat family friendly. Yeah. Let's see. We love us. I wouldn't say we're not individuals. I would agree we're an ecosystem. We are an ecosystem, but an ecosystem also has its individual components. And we as humans are definitely individuals. For all our commonalities, there are things that drastically separate us as well. Um, and what makes this compoundingly worse, even, is the fact of how far from our own world we have removed ourselves. Um, More than 90% of the human beings on this planet, if you took away the modern infrastructure, they would die out. They couldn't survive because they can no longer live in their own world. Let's see. See, Christian Black, when no, Crexton, I think, my bad. If I pronounce that wrong, I apologize. When you move to a new area, do you give offerings to the um, dragons there? Okay, so dragons don't particularly inhabit um, long-term locations the way we think of land spirits and the like. So my work with dragons is, it goes with me where I go. That's not a major malfunction one way or the other. However, at the same time, many of you know I do practice a lot of Norse work, and land whites are a big thing in Norse um, practice. So I do actually, when it comes to the elemental spirits, the land spirits, and stuff like that, I do actually make offerings and actually make a point to get to know them. I actually know well over 100 local land spirits within um, 3 miles of our house here where we moved. I've made a point to build those relationships and communicate with them on the regular, and still do. And I maintain those and I work with them. Um, as well as I actually make a point to get in touch with any of the spirits of the dead in the area, whether it be due to nearby local graveyards or the likes. So, yeah, I actually do make a point of that. I don't do offerings for every single one. I don't really do a whole lot of offerings. My practice, it's not to say I never give offerings, but but I do work with them, make a point to get to know them. Same thing with the nature spirits, the trees, animal spirits, those things. I make a point to get to know them. Currently, there's a lot of water. We're coastal, so I've even made a point to connect with the spirits of the coastal regions and the water around here. Very important. And it has saved us some damage to our property. Let's see. See, this is mainly how I talk about the draconic rulers one time. Fire ruler called me out by showing me a monkey answering a phone and breaking it when it didn't like what it heard. Still my favorite vision. That's actually a pretty cool one, not gonna lie. Yeah, Conley, yeah, and that's, to be fair, and this is one of the things, her and I did talk about. She wrote her dragon books at a point where they literally had to filter and edit it specifically through a Wicca filter, or what was allowed, is what I was told by her. And so there's a lot of information that she found and wanted to publish that she wasn't allowed to. And in fact, a lot of the stuff she found, she said, lined perfectly with what I was finding, which I found pretty cool. And she encouraged me to publish independently because she was afraid that if I tried to go through a known publisher like she did, they would try to force me to make the alterations as well. Um, and of course, back then I was still trying to do a book. I hadn't even gotten the remote concept of a video course. So, but I mean, if it wasn't for Conway, I wouldn't got where I was, and much less actually thought my work was good enough to publish. So I'm thankful. And I think her work is important. Don't get me wrong, her work is very important because whether she was forced to make the adjustments or not, even the dragons admit it was a stepping stone forward because it was something that no one had been talking about, no one had talked about. And it needed to start getting traction. It needed to start getting out there in the dialogue and to find practitioners interested to dive deeper and go further. And then from that, the dragons could build off that and get more information out. Um, and I think that's pretty cool. And that's why I keep going to like Amazon and other places looking for dragon magic books because to this day, I find it mind-boggling. There's got to be books out there. There has to be. There's got to be something somewhere. I can't be the only redneck idiot the dragons pick to start giving information out. There's got to be more. There's got to be something. There's got to be a more articulate, better author than me. There has to be. I do not think I mean, okay, I'm a stepping stone on the path, but I'm not a grand position on the path. Um, and hopefully some of my students or the admin or someone who's watching this channel is that next major progression. That's what I hope. I hope my teaching spurs someone to go further than I ever can in my lifetime, and they become that next step forward. Hopefully. Yeah, I agree. We can't forget our individuality. I will say that a lot of these spiritual concepts where the individual is erased is not a good thing. I really don't think they're a good thing. I've seen some of those work out well for others, but honestly, more times than not, I see the person themselves waste away, and that bothers me some. But you know, at the end of the day, when we look at the world, the only thing we really have is ourself. Everything else can vanish in a moment. Um, and if you give up yourself, if you lose yourself, if you erase yourself, when everything gets to its worst, that's when you'll be the emptiest and you'll have nothing left to turn to. And to some people, that means, well, it's just easy to surrender and give up. I mean, if surrendering and giving up is what you want, great. But at the same time, for most people, that's a very depressing thing. For me, like people's like, are you afraid to die? Absolutely not. Like I am not. I could swing on into the great by and by. It's not going to bother me. I've been very close to that reality more times in my life than I can count. It's never bothered me. The mysteries of death are not something that I am worried about. A good chunk of that's because of my practice, obviously. But at the same time, I've never given up my individuality to get to that point because I understand death. Death is a natural part of life. In fact, you can't have life without death. So that's not a fear that bothers me. And I don't need to erase my identity and my individuality to look forward to an inevitable adventure through death. So that actually might be a wonderful topic for the upcoming fall season, especially around October, talking about the process of death and facing death and learning to accept death, not only yours, but those around you. Let's see. Oh, we jumped. We jumped. Crap. Okay. Well. Oh yeah, like I said, there's a lot of things in her writings I disagree with, but I will never downplay the importance of her works. Like I said, she is very important in the path that has been. So if it wasn't for her, I doubt I'd be here talking with you all. And this channel, we've talked about things that go way beyond dragon magic, even. So it's pretty amazing when you think about what that one pebble and the ripple effect that it caused was. Let's see. Let's see. Drake, you inspire so many. Oh, thank you. and are important in yourself, and your encouragement and sharing is crucial. Well, thank you. I try to do my best. I was taught that if you can leave the world, if you can do something to make the world a little brighter, a little better, maybe leave it better than you found it, then that's a good thing. And I try that. I do. Let's see. Let's see. Do you guys have advice for when your imagination or mojo isn't currently not where it usually is beside the plant and white sage cleansing? Okay, so okay, what do you mean by imagination? Are you talking about creativity, like writer's block, stuff like that? Because I mean, there's a few things we can try. I'm just trying to figure out exactly what this is. Because when we're talking about imagination, that can be creativity, that can be visualizations, that can be artistic creativity. Maybe there's a lot of different things that create the word imagination applies to. Mojo itself has been applied to a lot of things, including extracurricular adult activities. So, and no, I would not recommend drugs or special funguses in any shape, form, or fashion. Just so we're clear, I honestly do not recommend drugs and magic mixing. I really do not. I know people have used them. I know people do use them, and I honestly view them as a crutch. A magician seeking self empowerment and mastery needs to be able to master the skills and abilities without tools, without a crutch, without a concoction. You need to be able to do it. If I strip you naked and throw you in a cell, you should still be in full possession of your power. So you're not going to find me ever recommending drugs on this channel. Um, let's see. So let's see. Writer's block, missing creative. Okay, yeah, cool. So one of the things I love to do when it comes to writer's block, first off, I do a ritual of some kind that brings in. Try the Dragon's Flame ritual. Okay, the ritual's here on YouTube. The Dragon's Flame ritual. I don't know if you've ever worked with dragons. You could try the Dragon's Flame ritual. One of the rulers, Zephyrsil to be exact, actually, deals in the element of air and is fantastic with creativity, dealing with writer's block, and all these things and arts and those. During this ritual, you're calling on you're not evoking these dragons. Okay, a lot of people misinterpret that you're actually calling these dragons in. You're only calling in parts of their energy. Yes, the visualization shows the ruler, but anyone who's worked directly with these rulers know that's not the ruler. if that is less than a hair off the ruler's head that's being called in, but it's still freaking massive and it will do the job. So that is one thing you could do, and focus. The entire focus of that ritual should be inspiring you, inspiring creativity, bringing forth ideals for that and for your story. And I've seen that work a lot. I use it quite a bit when it comes to video content in the past. Another option, and one that I find myself doing equally, if not more, to than dragons, I'll do a hailing ritual specifically to Odin. A lot of people forget Odin is a god of poetry and creativity. So he is literally the original bard. So when it comes to stories and music, Odin is amazing to sit down and talk to. And he can spin a yarn and talk for hours and hours and hours and hours. That's actually what he and I have in common most, is our ability to sit, talk, share ideals, tell stories of our adventures, our misadventures. So Odin is also an amazing one to work with if dragons aren't your cup of tea. And the hailing ritual, just so you know, is also here on the channel as well. You can write your own specific hailing. The video goes into that. The hailing I use, hold on, oh crap. Hell Odin, All Father, Wise One Eye, Hell Odin, All Father, One-Eyed Wanderer, King of the Azir, Lord of Valhalla, Hail Odin, Hail Odin. It's essentially calling out titles. And it's weird because when you put me on camera, I suddenly can't just, that's like I use the thing daily. But that's the gist of it. I might have it a little out of order. Um, and that would be actually calling out to him and asking him specifically. I usually end mine with something like, guide me, teach me to better myself and those around me, is usually how I would end a hailing ritual or a prayer to any of the Norse gods, because I do look for that guidance and I look for that teaching. I don't look for gifts. I don't want gifts. And the Norse gods aren't really about gifts. They're about teaching you to do for yourself. If you're asking for gifts, they're going to get tired of you real fast. But I don't just want to better myself. I truly want to better myself so I can better my community. And I put that in there. But at the same time, if you're looking for something specifically with creativity, I would just end it with, help me, inspire me as I work on this project and seek to put forth my artistic endeavors. Something like that. You're probably more articulate than I am. As a writer, there's a reason I did a video, not a book. So those are two things I would definitely do. Another thing you could do is you could actually make a amulet. Get you a little circle piece of wood from a craft store, and a Sharpie or a wood burner, and you can slap Anzus on that. Heck, you could do a piece of paper. Get you a piece of scrap paper out of your junk mail, put Anzus on there, do the hailing ritual, and focus all the energy on Anzus, because Anzus is the rune of the mind and creativity. And you can put that in your wallet, carry it around, so you're carrying a medallion that inspires your creativity with you. Also an amazing way to go about it. One that I've heard, I don't personally use this one, so take this one with salt, if you will. I've heard you can actually charge mint tea for creativity and writer's block. I've never tried this because mint tea, that's kind of my go-to for when I'm having trouble sleeping. So with my battles with insomnia and everything in the past, I don't tinker with what I know works. I don't screw around with my mint tea. I want it to be that relaxing, thing. So I've not really tried that one. I keep my mint tea for sleepy purposes. So that's one you might have to try. The others I have used, just so you know. But since I thought of that one while you were asking, I figured I'd throw that out there, give you as many options as you can. Thank you, by the way, for expounding upon what you meant by imagination there, because wanted to make sure we got that one right. Let's see. Silly question, Drake. Have you ever been worried about the times witches and magicians have been persecuted, returning, or something being out to get you for practicing? Absolutely not. And I grew up in the Bible Belt. So here's the thing. Truth be told, I honestly, truly believe that most of the witch paranoia and the mentality of everyone hates a practitioner is self-generated by us practitioners and the paranoia in the community and our own dislike of other people's beliefs. Seriously, I'm sorry that say it, but that's true. I have been open with my beliefs and my practice even when I lived in a Southern Baptist town, and no one gave a damn. No one has ever given a damn. The only person who has ever made a snide remark or anything about my religion was an atheist and someone who was a member of the Satanic Church. Those were the only two. Now, that's not to say that there aren't plenty of people out there who's going to make snide remarks. There are, but in truth, the bulk of the majority of people really just don't give a shit what you believe. And then people's like, well, look at this in history. Look at this in history. All right, fine. Let's take a body count. You really want to take a body count? Christians have the lowest body count, people. And that's the truth, because in history, before Christian rose to power, pagans were torturing and killing Christians for fun, and pagans were killing pagans for fun. In fact, anytime any clan, pagan or not, conquered another clan, the concept was eradicate their religion. It's a basic control mechanism. You want to indoctrinate them into you so they don't uprise. So the fact that what people view as pagan beliefs predate all the others, the body count's far larger. And yes, that includes if you include the Crusades. So this mental paranoia that we've developed it doesn't hold up when you put it against the actual facts of history overall. And the human race definitely has a cycle that it repeats, okay? And that's bad. What I worry about, you really want to know what I worry about. I don't care what side of the political aisle you're on. I worry when you try to erase history. If you try to tear down a historic statue or a monument, if you try to change the facts of history or leave very important facts out, that's when I worry, because now you're trying to erase history. You're trying to hide it for some reason. And if we erase history, even the offensive and the ugly, you are doomed to repeat it. Absolutely doomed. Look at how we talk about slavery. My entire life, we've talked about slavery from a Civil War perspective. No point, even in my age group, did they teach about how slavery predated the transatlantic slave trade. They didn't. No one talks about all the other races that were slaves. It's just, we're going to completely erase that because, well, why? And if you want my opinion, it doesn't fit a narrative. Those are the things that scared me, because why are they spinning such a specific narrative? Those are the things I think we need to worry about and be cautious of. But as far as that whole persecution, no, not worried about it, have never worried about it. Early in my practice, there was a bit of early paranoia, I'm going to admit, and it all came from people telling me stuff, basically the same stuff I told you and what happened. Luckily for me, I love history, so I started diving and digging and rooting through, because it wasn't something I'd heard before. So, I heard about the witch trials, sure, but I also knew that the bulk of the Salem witch trials had nothing to do with witchcraft. It was all land grabs. Most of it was just land grabs. So it had very little to next to nothing to do with witchcraft. Very few actual witches died during the Salem witch trials. So these are just little doodads in history. When you actually go through and research them, it's fascinating to me personally. But as far as that, do I worry? No. Like, I have spoken to preachers, I've spoken to Southern Baptists, I've spoken to Mormons, Catholics. People knew what I did. They knew my practice. They didn't give a shit. They really didn't. If they said they would pray for me, great. If they say, I hope you find Jesus, great. I don't care. They're hoping I would find a different path. Doesn't affect me in any way. So no, I've never worried about it. And one of the wonderful things about the world today, especially here in America, we have laws. And those laws actually prevent you from hanging me because I practice magic. And if the agenda starts to change those laws, like you look at the First Amendment and Second Amendment, free speech and the right to bear arms, that's when I worry. I'm actually more worried about the loss of the Second Amendment than in being persecuted for my beliefs, because I will question historically, I question any government that would disarm its people, because there's no need to disarm your people unless you wish to put your heel on them. And historically, you look at every government who's disarmed its people, they tyrannically took over. That's literally why America was founded. So yeah, no, I've never worried about that. Sorry to go on the rant there. Mortal, oh God, no, you'll actually, yeah. The Dragon's Flame rituals, not them. Like I said, it's like a hair of it barely even draws their attention, if it draws their attention. I actually would question that it doesn't draw their attention. It draws their energy, which isn't, their energy alone is enough to function on a level that we would view it as intelligent, but it's not their conscious attention. It's not. It's crazy. And yeah, and you quickly learn when you start working with the rulers directly. especially in Dragon Magic 101. It's when that energy slams down like an anvil on you, you realize the Dragon's Flame Ritual. Yep, Odin is also said to be the one who brought the runes to the people. Which, technically speaking, in Norse magic, if you actually look in Norse mythology, the runes are never actually directly spoken to or tied to in magical purposes directly. They're mostly just writing. Though at the same time, some of the Norse magics were more poetic, more written forms and spoken. So their major association with magic was you could write out what it was to be spoken, so it could be read. But the rune in and of itself didn't necessarily have that power. We jump. Crap. Oh, well. And Jade's throwing clocks at me. Is it that time? Yeah, I guess it is that time. All right, let me see if I can get through here. Where am I? Lower buddy can. Let's see here. Scooby, yes, to answer your question, the Jews have a lower body count. So yeah, if you're trying to say that they've done some things like that, then yeah, still lower. So, and it shouldn't be forgotten. And honestly, the way that persecution of the Jews still takes place, I find personally disgusting. So, so that's one reason we don't try to touch on politics and religion on here. But like to answer the question of do I fear those persecutions, I don't, because of the obviously stated reasons. At the same time, I can guarantee you, if somebody starts posting up anything to persecute any group for any reason, you'll find yourself banned really quick. And I don't need to care about your reasons, just so y'all know. Now, if you're over at Locals and some point you catch me on a live stream or something and you want to have a chat or a discussion, that's one thing. But if you start shooting your mouth off and tearing people down and insulting people, so long. All right, let's see. Oh, we jumped again. Okay, there's a lot of people. I'm trying to make sure we got all the majors. Let's see one of these. Again, I'm not going to get political here. I'm not. If you guys want to have some of those discussions about the Second Amendment stuff, we can do that at Locals, but definitely not here on the YouTube channel because point blank, I may have said enough to get me striked as is tonight. Not going to lie, they don't like it. So hope that, because it's one of those things. The post you made in Locals about pushing past your comfort zones is very helpful. I spent months with Dragon Magic 101 and did not continue because I wanted to completely master my arcane senses. See, there we go. Perfect example, and I'm glad it helped you because it is. It's one of those things. Like if you just stay where you're comfortable, you don't progress. You don't progress. You adapt, you get there, and you don't progress. You have to go past that comfort zone. You really do. And Jade's dropping the Locals link there for anyone who is wondering how they can find us over at Locals. Join us there because we definitely got a lot of great content coming up. Let's see. I just remembered. So Homeless spirits have been helping me out. All right, everyone, I'm already running over. So before I continue to read and continue to take questions, I do have a wife I got to spend some time with this evening. You all have a fantastic week. Keep doing the best you can. Remember, we all fall down. We all mess up. We all make mistakes. The key of it is to learn from it, get back up, dust yourself off, and pursue your goals. Sometimes you have to take 2 steps back to make 4 forward. It does happen to the best of us. And remember to keep those journals, keep those notes. Those are going to be your most valuable thing in any process to meet any goal, whether mundane or magical. And as always, join us at Locals. I hope to see you over there. Also, follow us on Rumble. Rumble. With all the censorship and weird things, and honestly, the fact that I may have said too much answering a question on here. Make sure you're following us over at Rumble too, just in case YouTube decides they don't like me no more. But so far, they've been good to me. So far, they've been nice to me, and hopefully that continues. But I rather have an insurance plan than just bet the farm. You know what I mean? All right, everybody, have a fantastic week. Take care and good night.